Good evening to those of you in Connecticut and around the world, and welcome to KDKA2 Forecast Center. I'm your host, Carl Wismer. Last week, the world was stunned to learn news that Daniel Villalon, legendary fashion designer, announced his plans to leave the industry after nearly 3 decades of changing the face of fashion. Tonight, we bring you an in-depth exclusive, the life and times of Daniel Villalon, genius of the fashion industry. Daniel Villalon, legendary American fashion icon, transformed an entire industry.
Daniel Villalon, he was more than just a fashion designer, and he did more than just transform an entire industry. He really transformed the culture. And that's something that we forget. There was a time in this country's history, a very shameful time, where a white Caucasian male could not wear a yellow bow tie with a green cardigan and a red vest, for example. Okay? And then Daniel Villalon came, and he changed all of that. He changed everything.
Dan Villalon was born somewhere in Africa, and very little is known about his childhood.
Daniel's early years are really shrouded in mystery. Okay, very enigmatic. Not too many people really know too much about his childhood. Not too many people know, for example, he wasn't even born in the country. Okay, he was born and raised in Africa. Legend has it that his father was essentially your typical nomadic Amish farmer. Okay, not too much is known about his mother, or even about his 2 brothers. He actually had 2 brothers who would follow him in his footsteps into the fashion industry.
When Dan Villalon moved to the United States, he continued many of his customary traditions, such as communal bathing, tribal dress, and arranging marriages for his fellow village men.
When the brothers first came to the country, I think they were very shocked. To be in the United States, it was very different than the upbringing, different lifestyle. But basically, despite these difficulties, right away they really took to the fashion industry, and instantly they were making a name for themselves.
Genius. Ever since Daniel first came to this country, it's been genius. I remember his first line of fashion dresses that came out. It was called purity dresses, designed for creepy little nuns. And ever since then, Daniel had a way of outthinking his competition. People back then would be wearing hats, but Dan would wear a towel on his head. Or people would be wearing business suits, and Dan would design swimwear for leprechauns. Daniel had this ability to really frustrate his competition, and that was part of his genius too.
It didn't take too long for Daniel to become successful, and I mean extremely successful, in a way that the fashion industry had up till that point never seen this kind of financial success. Daniel really made a name for himself, and the power started to go to his head. He would start to throw lavish parties, with his brothers. He started to engage in a debaucherous lifestyle. Okay, it's believed that at this point Daniel started to do drugs. He was smoking various things. He was hanging out with his French porn star brother, and he had a regular drug dealer from whom he bought his drugs, and actually was very good friends with her. She was someone that gave him a lot of guidance in his life.
I remember Dan's parties. They were out of control. I mean, people would wake up the next day hungover, and there'd be Guatemalans locked in the bathroom. I mean, Dan just had every kind of drug available there. There would be Zip Zaps, Crank, Stubby Wubbins, Rosie O'Donnell's, anything that you would want anywhere in the world, Dan had somehow.
Before long, things just really got out of control. Okay, Daniel just lost control. He was just off his rocker, partying all the time. He was missing appointments. I know at this time, too, his life became very much that of a playboy-style life. He would often seduce women. He would fly them down to his exotic houses on islands and say, let's go ride on some horses together. Then we can go and swim and we can look at fishies and things. And, he would seduce them, basically, seduce his women. And then the next day, just like that, gone. They were devastated, broken up. They would look terrible. These one-night stands, they really typified this part of his life.
But then Dan found guidance from an unexpected source.
I met Dan at a very difficult time. I told him, Dan, you must simply change your wicked ways. And he did.
Black Yoda's words changed Dan, and he sobered up, woke up to life, and began doing what he loved to do, transforming the fashion industry.
Well, of course, this was a period when Dan really owned up to his genius and transformed everything. This is the time when the typical Daniel Villalon fashions that changed the industry came about, including Waiting for Cousins, The Mexican Bachelors, Itch Party, Yo-Yo Cargo Shorts, Hamburglar, The Swedish Uncle, Innocent Cactus. Of course, the Innocent Cactus was a landmark in fashion.
The candy stripe pink shirt with some gray pants and some penny loafers that are kind of like I would say a burgundy. Oh, it's top notch. I mean, truly the vanguard of AQR fashion. If I'm going, oh!
As long as I can remember Dan, he always had a passion for fashion.
Well, fashion will never be the same. Never.
And that concludes our broadcast. From all of us here at KDKA2 Forecast Center, stay safe and good night.